Okay guys, we're going to be talking about central angles and arc measure in this video. A few foundational things that you need to know is a central angle is equal to the arc measure that it subtends. And so a picture of that might look like this. So this red arc, AB, this red arc is equal to the central angle of AOB. And so the red arc and this central angle are equal to one another. The other thing that you need to make sure that you know is that this arc AB is called a minor arc, and then a major arc is indicated with 3 letters, and it's also going to be greater than 180 degrees. And so it also has got to go in order of the 3 letters. So you can't say ABC to get this green arc. You have to either say ACB or BCA. And so that's a major arc. The next thing that you need to make sure that you are aware of is that the arc measure of a full circle, so this full circle right here is 360 degrees, and then the arc measure of this semicircle here is 180 degrees. Now that is just going to be from this point right here to this point right here. And so this arc measure is 180 degrees. This line right here would be a diameter of the circle. So if you have a diameter of the circle, then you know that a semicircle has been created in some way. First example that we have here is to find the measure of the arc, in this case arcs indicated. Assume that if there's a line that looks like a diameter, then it is a diameter. If you look here, these lines do not continue straight across. If we did have a diameter, it would look something like this. It'd go all the way across. But we don't have that diameter. So right here, the first one, finding x, this arc measure, well, we know that the arc measure is equal to this central angle, 148. So x is equal to 148. Next, we should see that, that this piece of the circle, this sector, and this sector are the same because of these 2 red lines, which means to find y, we have to take the entire circle, 360 degrees. We got to subtract this 148, and then we got to subtract this 148 as well. And that's a simple subtraction, simple arithmetic. You should be able to get 64 as your final answer. In this example here, it's similar, except now instead of trying to find arc measures, we're trying to find central angles. So it says find the measure of the central angle or angles indicated. So here we're going to solve for x and y. Again, assuming any lines that appear to be diameters are actual diameters, that would look like F to H. F to H creates a diameter because it goes through the center and it appears to be a straight line. So we're assuming that this is a diameter, which means that from F all the way to H, either direction that you go is 180 degrees. However, to find x, it's just using this sector right here, this central angle, and this arc measure. So this arc measure is 39 degrees, which means that this central angle is 39 degrees. And then to find y, we don't have to use the whole circle because we know half of it is 180 degrees. And we can subtract this 39 out of that 180 degrees to get our y value of 141 degrees. So in this example, we are trying to find the measure of the arc indicated. That arc is this major arc IKH, keeping in mind that major arc must go in the direction of the letters. So we got to go I to K to H, which means these are the 4 arc measures that we have to add together. Here it says to assume that the lines which appear to be diameters are actual diameters. Well, I to L is a diameter, and H to K is a diameter, which creates vertical angles. So these two central angles right here are congruent. If you add them together, they're congruent to this central angle right here. And so since we can see that those are congruent, all we have to do is add 71 plus 67 to get 138 degrees for this section that includes H to L or L to H. And then what we have to do is figure out that these two are also vertical angles. So these two green sections, I to H and K to L, those are also vertical angles, so the arc measures are equal there. So the first thing that we got to do is take the entire circle, 360 degrees, and then we have to subtract the 138 and this 138 to get the total of these two green sections here. You should get 84 when you do that calculation. We then have to divide by 2, which is going to give us 42 degrees for each of these two green sections. And then to find the measure of the major arc IKH, we have to add these four sections together, and we know that these two here, 71 and 67, is 138. We know that this yellow section is 138, and we know that both of these green sections are 42, but we only need this one right here, this K to L, and that's going to give us 318. Just keep in mind that because we don't need this section right here, we only have to add one of those 42s. In this example, we're trying to find the measure of the central angle indicated, and then again assume if it's a diameter, assume it's a diameter if it appears to be one. The angle in question here is the measure of angle JKL. Following those letters, JKI, not JKL. So JKI is this angle right here. And if you look at J to G, it's a diameter. So all we have to do is add these three sections together and subtract them, and they should equal to 180. So we're going to take 180 and subtract the two sections that we know. And that looks like this. The measure of angle JKI is equal to 180 minus 95 degrees minus 42 degrees. When you put that into your calculator, you should get 43 degrees for the measure of angle JKI. In this last example that we're going to look at, we're trying to find the measure of the arc indicated, which is the measure of our arc WVU. So we have to go in this order. Notice if this arc just said WU, you would not know to go this way or this way. So you have to have that second letter there, or that middle letter, which is actually a directional letter. So we're going to find WVU. And so here we have these two sections that we already know. We know 138 degrees, and this one we should know, this one's 90 degrees. In order to answer this question, we have to add these two sections together. Now, the big key here is that these two sections are the same measurement. So we can take the entire circle of 360, subtract what we know, and then that's going to give us the remainder here in white, and we have to divide by 2 in order to get either of these two sections. So you're going to have to divide by 2 to get that final piece that you need in order to figure out the arc WVU. So the way that looks here, 360 degrees minus 138 minus 90 degrees. Again, that's going to give us the total from X to V of 132. Divide that by 2 to get each section here, X to U or U to V, and that's going to give us 66. Now to find these two red pieces, 138 and 66 should be added together. And then when you do that, you should get 204 degrees. All right, guys, that's central angles and arc measures. Here you should have noticed we didn't solve for anything in terms of setting up an equation and then solving for x through those equations. All those examples that we had that had an x and a y were just straightforward adding numbers together. We weren't doing any kind of coefficients or anything like that, anything algebraic. Everything here was arithmetic. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.